All right, this is the Advanced Fat Loss Technique webinar for the Jump Start, and I am going to go ahead and get this rolling. Hopefully other people will jump on, but if not, it's recorded, so we're all good. So Advanced Fat Loss Techniques is kind of the next phase if you've been doing all the fundamental things right. Let's review the fundamentals that you need to do before you move on to the advanced stage. It's kind of like when you're a skier, you don't go right to the black diamonds. You don't go down the hardest hill first. You want to progress. So you got to make sure you kind of check these things off the list first before you move to advanced things. So number one is you got to control your blood sugar. I think this is first and foremost the most important thing when it comes to fat loss. If you're skipping meals, your blood sugar is going to take a dive, and you're going to end up wanting to crave a high calorie meal or high sugar meal to drive it back up. So you don't want to skip meals. You got to avoid refined sugar. I'm not talking about sugar in fruit, but I'm talking about the sugar that is in things like yogurts, cereal, obviously candy and pop, those kind of sugars, those fake man-made sugars. Natural sugars are okay because they don't spike the blood sugar like the fake sugars. And then the processed carbs like crackers, chips, like I mentioned, most breads and cereals, lots of the pastas, the things that are kind of white carbs that cook quick, that are instant or, typically in a can or a box and cook really quick and are convenient. They're convenient, but they're not necessarily the best choices. They act just like refined sugars. They raise your blood sugar up very, very fast, which causes your body to release a lot of insulin, which keeps you from losing body fat. Just hormonally, you're programmed to store body fat. And then eating protein at every meal or snack, not just for muscle maintenance, but also protein helps to control blood sugar, and this works very, very well to keep you feeling full and keep your blood sugar under control, so you're not tempted to go for that dish of candy that you see at work or whatever. So, we say 20 to 30 grams at a meal and about 10 to 20 at snacks for most of our women. So that's enough to make a dent. If you're doing like some of these brands out there will say high protein, they're only 6 grams of protein. That's just really not going to get you enough protein. So a good shot of protein at every meal and snacks. So that's fundamental one. Fundamental two is drinking plenty of water. Water is important because it'll help you feel full. It'll also help you flush out excess water into the skin. It'll keep your joints lubricated, kind of like oil in the car. Very important. Make sure that's basic. I had somebody come in the other day who said they couldn't go to the bathroom. They were struggling with that. They were lethargic. And first thing I asked her, how much water are you drinking? Well, not very much. And 2 days later, she came in for a training session. She said it made a night and day difference just to make sure she was drinking enough water. So make sure that you're drinking at least 8 glasses per day, and especially when it's getting hotter and humid like it was today, you want to maybe be drinking more. And a good test is always a pee test. That you're keeping your peeing clear. That's always a good sign you're where you need to be. 25 to 38 grams of fiber, and I say 38 because men need about 38, women need at least 25. So make sure you're monitoring that. Fiber will actually help control your blood sugar, but also keeps your digestive tract healthy. If your digestive tract's not healthy, it's really hard for you to absorb the good stuff, and you're bloated, and a lot of times that won't give you the lean, toned look that you're looking for. So it's going to help you with your health, but it's also going to help you with the way you look, and especially in the midsection. And then core supplementation. I kind of look at the big three are going to be probiotics, keep your gut healthy, a multivitamin, multi-mineral. Just like, like carbs, proteins, and fats are fuel, water's oil. The multivitamins and minerals and the omega-3s really kind of function as spark plugs. They help your metabolism work better. They help your immune system stay strong. They help your body get energy from food. There's lots of functions. We talked about that in the last supplementation seminar. So I think these are fundamental things that need to be in place before you really think about moving to something more aggressive. So we're going to talk about a couple tips. One of the favorite ones I used, and I was introduced to this back in the 90s when I was doing bodybuilding. It works well because a lot of Americans, what we do, even though we're eating good carbs, we're very carb dependent, meaning that we eat a lot of carbohydrate and we never really give our body a chance to burn fat. It's a good way to force your body to burn fat and get your body to what we call mild ketosis, which forces your body to pull fat out of storage for energy. And it gets your body, it's kind of like a reserve tank. I used to have a Sea-Doo, and a lot of times what we would do, when you run out of gas in the main tank, we'd have to go into the reserve tank. That's when I knew I had to get gas. And a lot of times if we're eating too many carbs, and even if they're good carbs, we never force our body to go in and get fat as a fuel source. So we're taking the carbohydrate away for a temporary period of time, and your body's forced to go in and get fat as a fuel source. This helps lower the blood sugar and the glucose, which lowers the insulin levels, and that helps your body prime for fat loss. It also improves what we call insulin sensitivity. So think of your muscles kind of like a sponge, and carbohydrates are kind of like water in the sponge. And when we squeeze the sponge out with exercise and carb depletion, now our muscles are more like a dry sponge. So when we pour that water in, it's going to get soaked up by the sponge. And that's in essence what insulin sensitivity is that your body prefers to move carbohydrate into the muscle cells versus the fat cells. And so the more insulin sensitive we are, the more muscle we're going to build and the more lean we're going to stay. So one way to do this is carb cycling. And when we do this, it's cycling, and a lot of people come in here and they just talk about low carb and they think just staying on low carb is the answer. And the problem with that is if you do that over time, you can lose muscle mass, and it does affect your energy, especially if you're training for something like a race or an athletic event. So you don't want to stay low carb all the time. This just keeps your body a little bit off balance and helps your body get better at switching between the two fuel sources. So with carb cycling, a lot of times people just completely cut carbs. So back in the day in the Atkins, what a lot of people did is they eat a lot of crappy fatty foods because it didn't have any carbs in it, but it had really processed fats. So they would eat tons of like oily bacon and greasy like cheeseburgers and things like that. But it's not a license to eat greasy crap. That's one of the mistakes. I know Kentucky Fried Chicken years ago, their fried chicken, they did the low carb campaign, and we know their chicken's loaded with fat, it's processed meat. So don't just think just because it doesn't have carbs in meat, it's a game. It's fair game in this thing. It's not going to work if you're already trying to be a chronic low carb dieter, or if, like I said, you're an athlete in training. If you're training for a major race or something that requires a lot of energy and effort, low carb is not going to work well. You got to decide what your sport is. It's either your sport or your sport is fat loss. If your sport is fat loss, cool. But if you're trying to train for, let's say you're training for a marathon and you're doing low carbies on your running day, it's not going to work too well. So I kind of always look at nutrition as you're either working for aesthetics or you're working for performance. And so you will get some aesthetics and performance, but you really kind of want to pick your poison, and you can kind of jump between the two. Depleting for long durations. I know sometimes we'll have people maybe once or twice a year do a longer carb deplete where they do maybe 5 days or so. There's a lot of diminishing returns like there is with everything. And if you do it too much, it's not going to be as effective. So, I typically like a carb cycle. You might do a couple low carb days, 2 to 3 initially, and then come back up for 1 to 2 to 3 days again to your normal moderate carb intake. But more is not better, just like in a lot of things. But that's why people go into this low carb eating. But a lot of these people that come in, it slows their metabolism. A lot of times with low carb, what they do is they lower their calories and they don't replace their calories that they're losing from the carbs. So when you lower your calories too much, if you're taking all the carbs out and you're not replacing them with protein and fat, and your calories are dropping too much, a lot of times that's going to lower your thyroid and it's going to slow your metabolism down. So that's another big mistake people make with low carb cycling. So an example would be, and what I typically define as a low carb day is doing 50 grams or less. It's kind of the norm is. So this is a couple examples of how you can do it. There's different ways to do carb cycling. You go 2 to 3 days low carb in a row, and then do 1 to 2 days, 1 to 2 normal days, kind of your 40% carb, 30 protein, 30% fat, kind of your normal moderate carb day. Example B is to just use carbs on the days you have more intense strength training, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let's say, and then if your days you do more cardio, you could do low carb Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, where you go 50 grams or less. You're kind of cycling more often based on the type of exercise you're doing. The other one would be, like I said, doing the one big deplete week, 5 to 6 days, 1 to 2 times a year. And this is tough, but it's effective. But this would be great, something great you might throw in after the holidays or after maybe summer vacation or something like that. We do this a couple times a year. What this does is it kind of just gets the body back on track and the insulin reset. But like I said, you got to be careful. People try to do this too often, and you're not going to get the law of diminishing returns. And if you do these too often, you can, like you said, you can sacrifice muscle mass. So this could be something that, when you're coming off of where you're just out of control, and you could even do it in conjunction with a cleanse, would be a good effective thing just to get your body on track very quickly. But depleting carbs all the time, 24/7 is not going to be effective. That's the take-home point here. So low carb day rules, a lot of people don't get this. What has carbs in it? Starches and fruits have the most amount of carbs, so I would take those completely out. You're going to increase your good fat intake, your coconut oil, olive oil, those type of things, avocados, You could use peanut butter. Just be careful you're using some more natural peanut butter because some peanut butter has a lot of sugar in it. And you're going to increase your protein to offset that. So what I would do is you want to go into FitnessPal, if you're using FitnessPal, and plan out a day. So you're going to increase your, if you're eating 4 ounces of protein, 4 ounces of meat, you're probably going to want to go to 6 or 7 ounces. And remember, fat is a good way to make that up. Good fats actually do a good job of lowering blood sugar. So, cook with coconut oil, throw some good fats in there. Egg yolks, are great too. Some of those natural fats are good because they actually do help kind of keep the insulin levels low and keep the blood sugar under control. So here's an example of a 1,200 calorie diet, 50 grams of carbs. Carbs are 4 calories per gram, which makes that's 200 calories. So that takes away 200 calories. So now you're just splitting the 1,000 extra calories. 125 grams of protein equals about 500 calories, and 55 grams of fat is about roughly under 500 calories. So that would give you roughly a breakdown of a 1,200 calorie diet. Now, I would say most of the women in here that are real active are probably going to be a little bit higher than that. But I kind of stick with 50 grams of carbs and then take the remainder and divide it in half, and that's between protein and fat, and that's a good place to start. Just if you're a numbers person when you're looking at FitnessPal. And usually somebody who's doing this advanced thing, that's usually what they're going to do. Here's a sample low carb day, what it would look like. A couple whole eggs with 3 whites with some spinach. Vegetables are free game, so when the carbs in vegetables, think of them as free carbs because they're mostly fiber. So you can't really count those carbs. You can even do some protein powder and plain Greek yogurt. These are just, I'm giving you a couple of, here's your snacks, some jerky, hard-boiled eggs, almonds. There's a taco salad, no shell, using salsa, which doesn't have a lot of carbs in it versus a lot of dressings, or a Greek salad with some light dressing with 4 to 5 ounces of chicken. And it just shows you kind of what a low carb is. You see it's all pretty much protein, vegetables, and some fats in there too. So this is just maybe what a low carb day would look like if you did go low carb. And none of this stuff, it's not like it's hard to get. I mean, it's just it takes a little planning. So you're basically going to be vegetables, protein like meats, eggs, and nuts and those type of things. And remember, when you're doing your carbs, you want to minus your fiber carbs off. So if something has 30 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fiber, it's really only 20 grams of carbs. So you guys want to go by the net carbs. The other tool I want to talk about is intermittent fasting. It's been an effective tool. It's something you want to try. It does not work for everybody, but it's been shown in studies to normalize leptin, which is the I'm full hormone, which tells your body I'm full and gets you to stop eating. It also helps with insulin sensitivity, and also these 2 hormones are big players when it comes to fat loss. It also helps get free radicals out of the body. It actually gives your body a break. It also gets ghrelin level back to normal too, which if you're not sleeping, by the way, if your ghrelin levels will be high, you'll tend to eat more. It also has been shown to increase high human growth hormone levels. The other way we do that is with our high-intensity training, and this will help you burn fat. Human growth hormone is a fat-burning hormone. So you're going to do this maybe, if you do a 1 big fast day a week, it's good to do it on a day where you're not really active, where you're doing something very light. You don't want to do an intermittent fasting day on a day where, like, for say you're doing strength training or something high intensity. There's some different ways to do fasting. There's, different ways, I like to do that I've worked well. So I've talked in the past about one of the keys to keeping your metabolism from slowing down is to do a feast day where you go a high calorie day. And a high calorie for 2 weeks will help keep your thyroid levels high, keep your body's metabolism slowing down. But the day after that, what you can do is you can go from one extreme to the other. Is, let's say Saturday night you go out and you have a big meal, have a few drinks, and you kind of crank up the calories on Saturday. The next day you go into a fast, and that helps your body kind of recover from the feast and the digestive tract kind of catch up. But it also, the metabolism is going to be up, and then it's going to be revved up, and then you're giving it no calories, so it's easier to kind of fly into a fast day right after that. And a lot of times Saturday, Sunday works. Because a lot of times Sundays for a lot of people are kind of mellower workout days. Not always, but doing that feast, because like Saturday nights and weekends are typically when people tend to eat more, so you can make this work into your plan. I typically like to have my fast at least 14 hours, if not 16 hours. So I might have a meal on Saturday night, which is at 8 o'clock. Maybe I'm done eating, and then it's 4, and then you could go, till maybe noon the next day after church. You break your fast. And if you want to exercise on a fast day, do kind of a lighter type cardio, long, slow distance or something a little more low key, then, really I wouldn't do any HIIT training or any high weight training on this, because you're in a fasted state, you're going to be more prone to break down muscle tissue. So that's what I would do with a feast fast. Lean gains, I personally have never tried this, but I know a lot of people swear by it, but this is where you eat food 8 hours a day, and then the rest you kind of cram all your meals in, like 4 meals within 2 hours of each other, and you fast for 16 hours. You do this every day. The only problem with this is if you're training hard, this could be a detriment to you. So you really have to be dialed in and make sure that those 8 hours that you're getting your workout in, because your post-workout meal is going to be key, and you want to make sure that you're getting good quality things and you're spacing them out. You're not overfeeding yourself either in this time. So you're probably going to eat ideally 4 meals every 2 hours, and then you have 16 hours of fasting. The Eat Stop Eat I've used before. You can do this once. I've tried it twice a week, and I find that twice a week is just too much. But this is where maybe what you would do is on do a morning workout and then have your post-workout meal, so you have some recovery nutrients in there, and maybe you finish that up at 8 o'clock. And then the next day you don't eat till you might do your morning workout, or you might have breakfast the next day. Give it like 16 to 24 hours. I've done 24-hour fasts where I do, and I find it works good, is if you do a morning workout followed by a post-workout meal, and then wait 24 hours and then break that fast the next day after your workout the next day. So I know some clients do it at night. They like to start their fast at night and then go into the next day. But so it's basically just taking 16 to 24 hours straight. No food. You can do coffee. That kind of keeps your energy level up, and water. At first, it's really tough. When you do this, it works pretty good. The 5-2 protocol lean gain, so you eat high calories on this, is for somebody that might be wanting to put on muscle but stay lean, but we do on high calorie days on lifting days and fasting days on non-lifting days. And what this does is it prevents people from a lot of, and this is more geared for maybe like bodybuilders or kids trying to put on some muscle weight. But when you're eating high calories on the lifting days, you're using up the energy, you're using the calories, you need them for recovery. On non-lifting days, you can go low carb or fast, and what that does, it keeps your insulin sensitivity good, so that if you are putting on mass, you're not putting on bulk, which is fat along with the muscle, which a lot of kids will do. A lot of football players, I know I did that back in the day. So that's just one thing, that some people use. They put on the weight, but it's quality weight because they're keeping their insulin sensitivity really good by doing that 5-2 protocol. So really high calories on some days, and virtually no calories with fasting days. So those are some great protocols for that. Things to think about with supplementation when you're doing either carb depleting or or fasting days. Branched chain amino acids, i.e. Catalyst or Biocharge, those are the 2 Advocare products that we use, but just think of a BCAA or branched chain amino acid. I think that's a must whenever you go into a depleted state like that. Your muscle mass is going to be put at risk. So you want to make sure you're having branched chain amino acids. So I actually would kick it up. If you're doing 3 catalysts, you're doing probably 9 on those low carb or those fasting days. There's no calories in this or no real nutrients, but these help protect muscle from being lost. I know Catalyst, the Advocare product, was made for wrestlers cutting weight to help protect their muscle mass as they cut really hard to lower their weight class. So that's a must. Core supplementation, you still want to be able to take your vitamins, minerals, and cofactors. That's just going to keep your metabolism working well. The key is you got to make sure you take your vitamins with food. So with the fast day, that can be tricky. So make sure you're taking your vitamins and minerals with your food, maybe on your one meal on your fast day. On your low carb days, make sure you might have to supplement in some fiber, because if you're not getting enough vegetables and if you're taking out some of your starches and fruits, you have a tendency to go low on your fibers. So that might be something to throw in extra on low carb days, because typically carbohydrates are going to have more fiber. Meats are typically going to not have any fiber. Vegetables will, but I know some people don't do well. Looking at our vegetable challenges and Jumpstart, it's hard for a lot of people to get their vegetables in. So make sure you get enough fiber and that you're tracking that on the low carb days, because that's one of the problems I've seen in the past low carb days is people can get kind of bound up. The other thing you can use is protein powder, not meal replacement shakes, but straight protein powder. Just kind of helps you get there. It's great for post-workout because it's liquid. It gets in there a little quicker than if you eat some meat on those days. So if you are doing a workout on those days, I kind of like to use Muscle Gain, which is an Adicare's performance line. But a good protein powder, a whey isolate's a really good one because it actually releases a little quicker into the system. So it's a good post-workout product. on those days too, and it just kind of helps you get your protein intake up, because I know for women a lot of times it's hard to do that on those low carb days. So those are some basic supplementation things that you can use. With that, I'm just going to kind of wrap this up and just, kind of put it all together. Is, one, I said make sure you're doing the fundamental things first before going to these things. And then make sure that, you kind of know what your goal is right now. If your number one goal is fat loss, that is totally cool. And you can use these protocols, but if you're training for something right now, make sure that you're not, doing low carb days or fasting days on days when you have heavy training. You just want to be smart about timing these days. I personally am kind of more inclined to do the feed fast. I like to have a high calorie day once a week and then follow it up with a fast. But sometimes I use the fast, in the past on like Mondays when my busiest day, where I didn't want to have to think about packing food, and it made my life a little bit easier convenience-wise. But I know, like right now, the program I'm doing now, I'm doing intense workouts pretty much every day of the week, so fasting really isn't a good option for me right now. So look at what you're doing. And fasting and low carb, are best used on days where you're a little bit less active. Not that you can't use them on active days, but just be careful that you're not going to the well too many times. If you're starting to get lethargic and lose strength, you might need to rethink how you're doing that. But these are two tools I like to use. Just like workouts, nutrition can get plateaued out, and it's always good to have a couple tools to throw in the box. Not that I don't do these things year round, because just like a lot of things, you're going to get a lot of diminished returns. So I take them out for a while and I bring them back in. But these are things that can be used, and just use them wisely. Make sure you're doing the first things first, the fundamentals, and go ahead and implement these things here. Working at the end of the jumpstart. If you feel like you're kind of slowing down with your progress, go ahead and throw these things in and give them a try. And be sure to reach out to us if you have any questions. But other than that, that's my advanced fat loss seminar, and the quiz will be posted. So make sure to take the quiz and bring it in or send it into us. Thanks a lot, and have a great night.